are reaching the halfway point of the top 50 racing games on the Amiga. Let's present a few of those games which didn't quite make it, beginning of course with Fire and Forget 2, developed by Titus Software and released in 1990. And they had also released Titus's Fire and Forget 1, which was a simple driving game where you fired just like road blasters. And in this game I can even fly, I can even transform that vehicle into a flight mode temporarily and take on these guys just like Space Harrier. But you can see there are parallax clouds in the background and it's not a bad effort, although the playability is not that great. Another game which didn't quite make it was Harley Davidson, developed by Incredible Technologies and released in 1990. This game was coded by Zira ZK Johannes, the same guy who previously did Super Hang-On, so let's see what a great job he did of creating the code for this game. Just like a Harley at top speed, it feels like we're still stuck in first gear, and if we ride too fast, unfortunately we'll get pulled over by the law and gain a ticket. Quite a different game is Major Motion, released by Microdeal in 1988, and as you can see it is not too dissimilar to the classic Spy Hunter arcade game, with very similar means of getting around the top-down levels. And just like Spy Hunter, well, unfortunately pools of oil will stop us dead and make us lose a life, but you can blow away those guys and spin out just like your favourite arcade racer. But unfortunately this game did not make it into the top 50, and neither did Hot Rubber, otherwise known as Grand Prix 502, released by Microids in 1991. You can see this game is a behind the view camera angle with the usual banded road, but this time we're on a bike. Returning to four wheels, we find Max Rally, which really did score highly, and you can see it's like Micro Machines, a top-down racer, and I'm playing as the blue car at the moment, trying to overtake the first position vehicle. And this game is quite a lot like ATR, only the controls aren't quite as good, and if we take a look at the space levels, that reminds of a great deal of ATR, and the blue car in this case, without any upgrades, is way behind. So it's quite a good effort, and the controls let it down slightly, but apart from that you can see it's great graphics and there's some tough playability on offer in that game. Narrowly missing out, we have Miami Chase, developed by Team 7, their very first game for Codemasters in 1990, and you can see Codemasters have definitely released a great top-down GTA clone, and it's unfortunate that we cannot jump out of our vehicle and change vehicles, but in this game we have to track down a criminal. Lastly, we have Rallycross Challenge, and that was developed by Ultra Graphics, published by Anco in 1989.
Accolade presents.
At number 30, we find Test Drive. Test Drive was developed by Distinctive Software and published by Accolade in 1987, and Accolade was a great company. They always seem to produce some great games. Test Drive 1 is full of stats which appear in those sequences, and great sounds as well. Test Drive has been reviewed previously in the Lemon Amiga game guides and reviews, so you should know the producers of this game, of course Don Matrick et al, so we will not go into any of those. You can see that In this game, it is a driving simulator, and for kids our age, when we played this was better than driving because we could go off and have crashes and put our foot down. And in this case, I'm putting my foot to the floor in a Lotus Esprit, and of course, any game which features a Lotus Esprit, that's my car. It also has a great grip level, and some of the cars have a great turbo and a great top speed, but for me the grip level means I can get around these corners and these obstacles without slowing down too much. And as soon as we get by those, of course, we can jet off using all 4 of our Lotus cylinders and our turbo in this case. As well as the traffic, we also have the police to look out for, and you can see a patrol car is raiding the back of our vehicle. What can we do? Well, we sometimes floor it, and that can help, but you can see the police are just too close, and when that happens, that will look out your steering, and with locked steering, unfortunately, you can no longer avoid a ticket. And the tickets won't cost us any money, but it will cost time, and because this is a timed race, then that really is defeating, and that will incur a penalty at the end of each level. See, the graphics on offer give us a great view of our dash with all the controls seeming to be working, and you can see rocks and crevices and things like that on the ever winding cliffs you can see on the right, and the clouds appear to move, although perhaps that is just us moving up and down all along that scenery. And you can see pretty stock levels from level to level, but that does not mean to say that we can't hammer that foot down, and this is a better experience than we got on the Commodore 64, although again this spawned a number of sequels on the PC. Cruising along near the top speed, we've managed to evade another cop car, which is great, and that means that we should only have a short time now to finish. And all we have to do is to look out for a petrol can sign along the right hand side of that road, and as soon as we see that, then it's not long to go. And so as a driving simulator, it leaves something to be desired, and maybe the sound effects on some of the cars are pretty poor, but you can see for its day it really did break new ground. Skipping forward to the last level, you'll find some slightly more tricky behaviour on behalf of the traffic involved, and some slightly more tricky driving as well, and sometimes those yellow signs can indicate a sharp bend that we have to get around, and sometimes that simply requires a simple gear down and make sure you don't hit anything on the way back. So this game is a fun game to play, and I really do like the touches, like the bird droppings, of course, the dirt on the windscreen, and you can see the lorries and the drivers' faces heading towards us, which again is a great sight to see, even if we crash into those. And you can see the touches in this game are never ending, so I think it's a great conversion onto the Amiga. It's got great playability and great graphics. Certainly deserves to be in the top 30 Amiga racing games of all time. It's not easy, and as you can see me fighting against these corners, I'm also having to dodge out blindly on these corners with that traffic, and you can see on the very last level it plants a very difficult red car on a corner, which I'm going to have to negotiate before I can get to that fuel stop. So it isn't a pushover, and it isn't for kids. Certainly adults will get the best times out of this game. Test Drive currently has a 68% rating on the Amiga Database. Next up we find another Team 17 game. This time it's Overdrive, position number 29, and Overdrive was produced not by Andreas Tardis and Rico Holmes. This time it was produced by Psionic Systems Productions. Overdrive opens very smoothly with a demo-like introduction, and it's always very nice to see those great demo-like effects on the machine which made those popular. And this game was produced and programmed by David J. Broadhurst, you can see, who also created, of course, Ghouls and Ghosts and other classics like Sly Spy and Bubble Bobble, that conversion on the Amiga, as well as Assassin and Assassin Special Edition. So with that great lineup of games in his back catalogue, we can see the number of options. We can change to advanced mode if we choose to do that, and we can also practice any circuit as well as link up machines, which is always appreciated, and we can have the music and the sound effects playing together. So having selected our options, let's just change the control and make sure that is pressing the fire button, of course, to accelerate. And in this game you can either have that as the button to brake or the button to accelerate. If we then press fire to start the game, then we would be presented by the options menu as to which race we start against which opponent.
Select race.
At this point we can choose the hardness of the race. Of course the prize money will vary from race to race, and so will our opponents as well. You'll find some of those easy and some of those not so easy, and you'll drive different types of vehicles as well, buggies, sports cars and the like. So again, very much like ATR, we do get a choice, and let's select the city course for this, one of the easiest courses on the calendar, and let's just choose that and get on with the race. After yet more disk loading, we get the start.
Ready, steady, go!
Overdrive is a top-down racer, perhaps similar to the Super Sprints formula that we got on many racing games on the Amiga, and the top-down really doesn't do it any harm. I'm just going to speed this footage up to show you that this is very difficult, in fact, to either stay in first position or stay in last position. And after a full lap of the very first circuit, I made falling into last position very easy indeed. So let's try again with a different circuit and see if we can improve on that miserable failure.
Go! Turbo.
I think the graphics on offer are reasonably well drawn, perhaps not quite as good as we got on Supercars 2, but they are really great, and you can see the music is also terrific and the gameplay is certainly playable. We can race around these things at top speed with the turbo pads as well, although getting that first position is very difficult and there's no easy mode really in this game. You simply have to memorize these corners and get there through sweat and toil, and if you go off, of course, you'll be in last position, and that gets you less prize money and less progress in this game. Voice sound effects also add a great element, and it's great here, ready, set, go, of course, reminding us of the Lotus series, but the turbo pads also add that extra element when you're trying to get in second position and failing at it. So this game does demand some kind of respect simply because it's so hard, and there is only just enough grip on offer to get those vehicles around that course, because of course being blown up like this, you are presented with corner after corner very quickly indeed, and you have limited time to react. There is also quite some loading involved, which is slightly annoying, and loading at every single stage, even to load up that high score table, is a little bit annoying, but you can see another demo background, and we can enter our name with a great lap record as well. But we ran out of fuel, so let's give this number 29 contender another round. Let's choose a different track and a different set of opponents, and let's see if we can't get any further with it. You can see we can pick up money tokens, and they will enable us to upgrade, and the spanners will also repair ourselves, and there is some oil as well, which calls a wipeout. And this game really is a wipeout sometimes, because you'll either make it or you won't, and that's why the mixed views on offer were all over the Lemon Amiga website about this game. Some people love it, some people don't, but the outcome is a 69% rating on the Lemon Amiga database. At number 28 we find F1, and that was developed by Lancor and published by Dumark in 1993. F1 has its heritage in Vroom, and people who've played Vroom will automatically recognise this. The original Vroom was developed by Lancor, and Vroom was also given a data disc, which was Vroom 1.1, and I like to call the multiplayer edition the Vroom 1.2, so really this was the first one to really take that on to a little bit further. And just like the original Vroom, it's very fast and very fun and very playable, and yes, you might find that this runs a little too quickly on an Amiga with a fast CPU, and I'm currently playing this with the 030 CPU, which, as you'll see later, plays havoc with the second track, but this game was optimised for the treble O chipset, and so this game runs just a little faster than the original Vroom on a 68,000 machine. The aim of the arcade mode is simply to pass a number of drivers, and if you pass the quota, then the drivers will appear in red in the top right corner. You can see we have a number of red cars piling up, and all we have to do is overtake those guys, and it really is an overtaking simulator. But unlike Vroom and its data discs, you won't find too many dead enders parked in the very centre of that road going 0 speed trying to wreck us from the go. So it's great, we can really put our foot down, and after some confidence is gained, then we can take these corners very quickly. Just like the original Vroom, we can survive a number of knocks and a few crashes as well, and that makes the arcade mode great because we will have a few crashes in this game. And even though I like to play this with the 030 because I had an 030 back in the day and I love to play Vroom at this kind of speed, I'd say that this is a step up from the average Amiga racer. And I'd say it's a great companion to the original Vroom, which I love, and the data disc as well, which is also great. And I was sometimes let down by the multiplayer, which seemed to have a little less grip. At the moment you can see I'm trying to gain my grip, trying to overtake these cars, and sometimes it can be easy overtaking those in a straight line, but carrying too much speed into those corners means we can crash. But you can see the quota is full, that means we can move on to the next level pretty easily, even if we do crash at this stage, and it doesn't take that long to get us back on that road. Okay, so sometimes there is a very slow car, but it doesn't seem to be as rapid as I remember that on Vroom, and so this game is full of surprises, even giving us the original Interlagos finally, which is very playable, and you don't really have to slow down for much of that, except the very tight section in the very middle. and you can see I'm simply braking and slowing down for this first corner before the complex, and then you can accelerate through the entire rest of it without slowing down, and then you simply have to brake and take it easy through this section if you can. And if you take the perfect line, then you can exit that place very easily. But if you can't, of course, this is not a true arcade racer. You will go off and you won't just bounce back onto the track. Bouncing back onto that track can be very exciting in this game, and sometimes you can get away with it without crashing into signs, and that's me completed for another lap. You may have seen some flickering on the screen, and that's because this emulator setup doesn't like the 030, and probably the game doesn't like it either, but that will cause some screen tearing on the WHD load version, which I'm playing at the moment. And so I definitely recommend a triple O if you really want to have fun with this game, and if you don't want to tackle that thing at breakneck speeds like me. Wings set to low and the tyres set to soft, I think this game is absolutely favourable to the original Vroom. It has the same kind of feel to it, the same kind of graphics and the same kind of atmosphere, even though the tracks aren't quite as easy for the novice to get themselves into. I think this game deserves its place in the top 50 Amiga racing games of all time. F1 currently has a 73% rating on the Lemon Amiga database. At number 27 we find some people's favourite coin-op conversion of Road Rash, and that appeared on the Amiga favourably in 1992, published by Electronic Arts, and developed in this case by Peakstar Software. After some loading we find the introduction screens, and from here we can not change much at all, I'm afraid, but we can press fire to start, and that will start us on the first level. Here we gain a helpful message that we can punch those guys and kick those guys off the road, which is the best part about this game, and it's certainly not the frame rates, as you shall see. But let's get on with it, let's just load this game and check this game out. In Road Rash, it's our job to overtake all the other riders in this race, and as we overtake those, the signal will appear on the very left, and there are 15 guys in this race, so we have overtaken 2, that means we are 13th. And you can see a dual rear view mirror effect, which is quite novel, it works in real time, and you can also see some clouds in the background, which are actually in dual parallax, and even the hills are dual parallax as well. We can move ahead of those guys either by ramming them off the road with the swift kick of our leg, or we can simply outwit those nitwits and get in front the easy way. And not slowing down and simply getting by the back markers is probably the best option, and the front runners, obviously they take longer to get by, especially if you crash into the back of those just like that. But again, a swift punch and a ram is great. Just like Outrun Europa, we can ram those guys off, and of course watch out and stay in the right lane, otherwise we'll be off. Road Rash was coded by Peter J. Hickinson, who also coded Continental Circus on the Amiga, and also Moonshine Racers. And, well, you won't see Continental Circus in this top 50 guide. I think it's great that the other riders have accidents and go off and are waiting by the side of that road, having collided with the car. and colliding with cars is very easy if you are in the wrong lane a long time, because it gives you about 3 seconds to catch up with those, and obviously it changed the lane. But you can see I'm struggling to get by the first riders. I've no idea my position until I overtake those, so let's try to get beyond those and try to pass a slow Sunday driver even in our lane. So this game has a lot going for it, it's just that the frame rates, smooth that they are, seem to be a little slow and too smooth but not fast enough. Unfortunately, that does not impair my driving, because that is terrible at the best of times. But this game scored a 75% rating on the Amiga database. At number 26, we reveal RVF Honda, and that was coded by Ed Hickman and released on the Micro Style label in 1990. RVF Honda also features a very unique loading sequence, which features this loading music, which is buffered directly from the disc, and is probably the best loading music I've ever heard. Keep that loading music playing, even though it does not play in the game itself. Let's just keep that on board, because I think that's one of the better things about this game. But the driving playability is also not bad either. So let's just select a brand new rider of the options, and we can practice and race a game as well. RVF Honda also comes with a great bike noise as well, and that really does sound a bike, at least a lot more than the bike races that we've seen already. And let's not forget that great soundtrack as well. It's a pity that this great soundtrack could not have been part of the game itself, because that really would have been amazing. Ed Hickman only created one game previously to this. He converted Hotspot to the Amiga in 1989, and that is his only other game on the Amiga. And of note, of course, Nick Moorbath created the introduction music. The graphics on offer flow quickly and smoothly enough, with a great layered background. There are no clouds, but we do get a realistic horizon. Just like Road Rash, we can bump into those other riders and knock those off, although we cannot punch those and kick those out. So that's also a great feeling. Those won't slow us down, we can actually knock those off the road. Take all the hardest corners at the right speed, then we can get away with crashing into those, and that means we can get on and have fun with this game. I think this game is highly polished and professional, and once the player gets to master those controls, which are maybe a little tricky at first, then they should be able to get around most things. Unfortunately, water won't kill us, but some oil on the road certainly will. RVF Honda currently has a score of 76% on the Amiga database.